You know what today feels like? Today feels like one of those days where I want to paint just to put color on paper, but I don't actually want to paint anything. So in those cases, I like to paint color charts. And I have these two boxes of ShinHan, not professional. They are the premium, so they are the higher than the professional brand watercolors. ShinHan, which is a Korean paint brand. I have two boxes of them, and instead of just swatching them, I want to make a color chart. And those take a long time and some patience, but they're also kind of relaxing in a way. I did a color chart video a few years ago, but I'm going to make a new one with these ShinHan watercolors because that's the kind of day it is. So that is what I'm going to do. It's just kind of what I want to do with my time. So if you're feeling kind of bored, do it with me. Grab your watercolors and let's create a watercolor chart together. Okay, so for this, like I said, I have two packs of ShinHan watercolors, and they are kind of like the essential primary sets. I feel like it says it on there somewhere. I can't remember where. I don't know. But they are like two kind of primary sets. So I have 12 colors all together. So it's going to be a pretty decently big chart. So I'm going to have to do 12 by 12. So I have my ruler here. And as long as I can get to 24, they're going to be tiny little squares. And I'm just going to speed this up and kind of go over how you set up your color chart if you haven't done this before. So like I said, I have 12 paints, so I want to do a chart of 12 by 12, and each of my squares are going to be 2 centimeters. Depending on how big your chart is, or your paper, you're going to want to kind of do the math for that. And if you're doing this for the first time, you might not want to do 12 paints at all. Maybe start with 6, just so it's a bit easier. Then once you've done kind of the charting of the 12 by 12 squares, what I'm doing here is I'm using this really tiny thin, it's kind of like painter's tape, but it's really thin. I found it on Amazon. I'm going to try and look for the link again so I can post it for you guys, but it's great painter's tape and it's really small and perfect for a chart like this. And I'm using 2 different colors because I ran out of the black. But you're going to want to just mark off the 12 by 12 chart. And you can do it with pencil and just kind of, you know, paint inside the lines. Okay, so once your chart is done, you're going to want to organize your colors. I did mine by the rainbow, so I did yellows into oranges, into reds, into pinks, into purples, into blues, into greens. And you're going to go the same order down that you are across. So yellow at the top going down and then yellow across. You should write this down. I just organized them and then I started painting, but you should definitely be writing the names of the paints down where they're corresponding. So I'm being super lazy with the way I did it, and it was fine for me, but you do see after I do write the names of the paints. So you want to go in the same order so it makes sense. So at the top, that first square that I have there, that is, I think it's primary yellow. And then the next square going down is my yellow ochre, and then next square across is going to be my yellow ochre as well. No, it's not. Yes, it is going to be that. So I do have this exercise done in my book and a bit more detailed in a different video. So I definitely suggest you check that out, but I am going to try and explain this the best I can right now. So here you see that I kind of just put that yellow. I'm not even doing it from a palette. I really should have. I put that yellow down and then I'm trying to lift it because the other thing I like to do with these charts is I like to do half of a light wash and then half of a dark wash. So down the diagonal, I'll have the dark value of the color, so full saturation, lots of paint. And then the top half of the diagonal, I like to water it down so you can see the light value of the color, which you will see me do this. And the way I suggest you do it first is putting down the light wash putting down the dark wash in the lower half of the diagonal and then washing off your brush and just using that leftover light value for the lighter area. And then what I'm doing right now is I am doing the solid colors, so not the mixtures, because this is a mixing chart. The diagonal going down that I'm doing right now are the solid colors. So it's where the color on the side meets the color at the top and it's the same color. So you have just primary yellow, then you have just yellow ochre, then you have just vermilion hue. And what I like to do with that is, again, I like to kind of create the full saturation of the pigment on the bottom half of the diagonal and then the lighter wash on top. So I'm starting off with the lighter wash first, and then once that dries, you'll see I go over the diagonal, the bottom half, with the darker value, so you get this cool effect. So I am going to speed this part up just because it could be very long if I don't. And then, of course, because I'm me and I forgot that I was even filming a video and I just went for it, I forgot to film that I put down a piece of that tape diagonally across all of those diagonal colors, and I'm just filling in the bottom half of the diagonal with a darker value of the same color. So I'm just using more paint than water. So I can see the top half is the lighter value of the color and the bottom half is the darker value of the color. And that just gives you a really good idea of the capabilities and the range of value that each color has. Okay, so I did wait for the light value to dry first on what I did before I did this, so just make sure it is completely dry before you do so. Okay, so now I have my full diagonal of my colors. I did a light value and a dark value like you guys saw, and I'm just going to go over the colors that are going to be in this chart. So I have permanent yellow light, yellow ochre, vermilion hue, permanent red, Crimson Lake, which is a beautiful pink, which I wasn't expecting from just the look of the tube. It looks like it's going to be a darker color, but it's not. Permanent violet, Prussian blue, cobalt blue, cadmium green light, cadmium green light, viridian hue, burnt sienna, and burnt umber. And so now it's time to start mixing. So what you're going to do with your mixing chart is you want to imagine, like, it's best if you write the names down. I didn't do that for this. I just kind of have my tubes sitting at the top so I know which is which. But you're going to correspond each of the colors from this side to this side. So I would actually write the names at the top. So this would be permanent yellow light, and this would be permanent yellow light. This would be yellow ochre. This would be yellow ochre. So you're going the same, oh my goodness, the same order. There's the word. Going across and then down. And then to know what the mixes are going to be, you're going to look at the line. So if this one was yellow ochre and say number 3 here is vermilion hue, once they meet here, that's the color you're going to mix together, the vermilion hue and the yellow ochre. If we have here, say it's, I don't know what it'd be, permanent violet. Yes, permanent violet. And then here it would be, nope, not there. Let's say here, permanent violet and our permanent red, you would mix those two right here. Okay? So like I said, below the diagonal line, you're going to have the darker value, and above that diagonal line, you're going to have the lighter value. So each mix is going to have 2 squares on the chart. Now, unfortunately, I'm a big, silly person, and I didn't film me actually filling this in. I don't know why. I just got too caught up in the joy. So I'm going to show you the finished chart and then hopefully point out the mixtures. Oh my goodness, it's been a day. But I just kind of wanted to give you an idea of what this looks like and the process a little bit, even though I didn't give you the full thing. It's a lot of fun to do, and I definitely suggest you do it yourself. And lastly, by creating your chart, write down the names of the paints, which I finally decided to do. I didn't give the best instruction for this video, did I? But yes, you're going to want to write the names of the paints down. It's going to be the only way that it really makes sense to you that you don't mess up, because I have messed up before, even with the names written down. But just take it slow, put on your favorite show, and enjoy just putting paint on paper. Okay, so I'm going to show you the finished chart because it looks awesome. And there we go. All done. So that took a while, but it's so fun and relaxing to do. And I love doing the half light wash and then like a darker value, just so you can see the range of colors that you can get. And this is such a great reference to have, because you're going to have colors that you may not even have known that you could mix. Like I'm seeing a couple of different ways to mix black here with like burnt umber and cobalt blue, and then Prussian blue and vermilion red. Is it vermilion? Vermilion hue. Viridian hue and red, permanent red light, or not permanent red light, permanent red. Just so many different combinations that I didn't realize before that I could make. Some beautiful greens with burnt umber and burnt sienna using Viridian. Like, just such a great way to find the range of mixes that you can get with your palettes. And this was a pretty big palette. I've done this before with 6 colors and even less or a little bit more, but nothing like crazy with 12 colors. So this was really fun to have. And then you can see the range of the pastels versus the saturated colors that you're getting. So again, if the easiest way I find to do it is, pick one color at a time. Usually I would go down this way. So I would start with my permanent yellow light, and I'd take my yellow, put it in my palette in like 11 different squares, yellow, 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 yellow. And then I'd mix one at a time, do the saturated version, and then water it down for the light value version. And that's kind of the easiest way to do it. And then move on to the next, wipe off your palette, do the yellow ochre, place it all in your palette, mix one at a time, and go down this way. Because I find if you try and find two and then like mix them like randomly, it becomes a little bit more disorganized, but I don't know, just so much fun to do, so relaxing to do. You could do it while you're watching a show, listening to music, whatever you want, but such a great exercise to learn about all the potential of all your color mixes. And then just one more thing, just in case I didn't clarify, I realized this video was all over the place. I just kind of wanted to film what I was doing and let you in on this fun process, which I don't think I did very well, but it was still fun. The light value and the dark value, like I said, you're going to have 2 squares. If you're trying to figure that out, so like, let's pick a nice color. I love this color. So the permanent violet and permanent red mix, you're going to get the lighter value of that as well, right? Permanent violet, permanent red. So there it is in its light value. There it is in its dark value. And they look like 2 different colors. This is a gorgeous color, the Prussian blue and permanent violet. And then you have the permanent violet, Prussian blue right there. The dark mixture, or the darker value, and the lighter value. So that's how you have two squares of each color, just in different values. So like I said, I put them in the palette. So, say my mix was yellow ochre. I put 11 squares or 10 squares of yellow ochre, and I'll mix, say this one, Crimson Lake and yellow ochre. I'll do the very saturated version, wash off my brush a little, and then I'll find it on the other side. So Crimson Lake and yellow ochre. So I'm putting the same color there that I'm putting here. I'm just washing off my brush to do the lighter version. Just don't worry if you mess up. I've messed up so many times. Something to practice. Like I said, do less colors. This is a little overwhelming. It was a lot of fun, but a little overwhelming. So just keep that in mind and enjoy and have fun. And then the last thing I wanted to say about this is that I love these paints. I haven't used them a ton. This is kind of like my swatch of these ShinHan watercolors, and I absolutely love them. As you can tell, there's not many like granulating colors, which is not my favorite. So these are, amazing for me. They re-wet so easily. They're so highly pigmented, and they blend beautifully. They are absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous paints. I may like them better than my Winsor & Newton. I don't know, but ShinHan, you make some good watercolors. And like I said, these are the premier watercolors. They have different ranges. They have professional, which you think would be the highest, but the premier are higher artist quality. And they are absolutely lovely. So I am really into this watercolor brand. Might have to expand my palette with them. I don't know. But I hope that was informative. I hope you can check them out. And that's about it. Thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it and I hope you learned something. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and follow me on all my other platforms for tons more content. I'll see you guys in our next video. Bye guys.